You guys today, DiJonai Carrington, after clotheslining Sophie Cunningham, running into the locker room, screaming, "That's white privilege!" Then tweeting 8/23, threatening Sophie Cunningham and the Indiana Fever. DiJonai Carrington now comes out and clarifies what she means when she says white privilege for the Indiana.
2 minutes left in the first quarter. DiJonai Carrington just slapped the dog shit out of Sophie Cunningham. Sophie pops up. She's obviously upset. DiJonai says, "Try me." And then look at Stephanie White. Look at her face. Look. She's mad as shit. Now, number one, this is obviously a flagrant 2. It just is. By the letter of the law, you got to call a flagrant 2.
That girl needs to be thrown out the league. She's not even a good enough player to be bringing this type of drama. She needs to be thrown.
Welcome back to Basketball Authority. Today's story has sparked a fresh wave of reactions across the WNBA, with a major Reebok deal putting Sophie Cunningham in the spotlight and leaving fans wondering how DJ Carrington feels about it. Did Sophie really take Carrington's spot? And why has this deal created so much buzz? Stay with me until the end as we break down the story, the reactions, and what it could mean going forward. Let's jump straight into it. This season, DJ Carrington may be losing the one thing that was truly working in her favor. And, based on how it looks, she may be entirely responsible for how quickly it is slipping away. Nor is this a calm, gradual decline. This is the kind of downfall that unfolds in front of cameras and millions of people scrolling through their phones in real time. And it all comes back to a few decisions she made during a single week on the bench. If you enjoy this content, consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. Believe it or not, more than 90% of viewers still haven't subscribed. It's free and only takes a second, but it means a lot to us. So, have you subscribed already? Great. Thank you so much for your support. Now, back to the video.
Otherwise known as MAGA Barbie in the WNBA, is a superstar player. She's one of the most famous female athletes in the world because she stood up for women in women's sports, saying only biological women should be allowed to play in the WNBA. And for that, she is literally risking her life. Check this out. This is what happened to Sophie Cunningham last night when she was clotheslined by a filthy, dirty player for Chicago who has a name that I can't pronounce, or maybe I just refuse to do that. That's my right as an American. But this is a player that has attacked Caitlin Clark, gouged her eye out, that has now bloodied the face of Sophie Cunningham. And as soon as she did this, she tweeted white privilege, meaning she's declaring this is a race crime. Now, if a white woman was doing this to black women, it'd be the #1 story in the world. She'd be banned from the league forever. But somehow black women are allowed to get away with this against white women. And it's white women in the league who make themselves a target by simply standing up for traditional values and...
Rumor has it that Reebok is quietly considering ending its relationship with Carrington. Furthermore, the name being mentioned as her replacement on the roster of endorsed athletes is not some unknown rookie. It's Sophie Cunningham. Yes, that's Sophie Cunningham. The very same player Carrington has been fouling as if she owes her money over the past week. A few months ago, no one would have predicted that these two names would become linked in a shoe deal story. So, if this turns out to be true, it's one of the most unusual turnarounds you'll see in sports marketing this year, especially with the two players on opposite sides of a dispute that is now putting one of their careers, financially, at risk.
Goo! That's assault, brother. You can't do that. What the fuck? Is this just the default if you can't think? Or if you just like don't want to take accountability for your actions? Oh my god, this league, bro, this league. Bro, white privilege while you're wearing a bleach blonde dyed wig. I mean, the fuck? What is privileged about that? You Stone Cold Steve Austin clotheslined her ass. What about that is white privilege? The WNBA stays undefeated. It truly does. They can't get out of their own way.
This is how we got to this point. Carrington was signed by Reebok with the expectation that she would represent their basketball line, someone with charisma, someone fans would want to support both on and off the court. That's what an endorsement deal is all about. Your jump shot isn't the only thing a brand is paying for. They're paying for the emotional connection you create with consumers when they see your name on a shoebox or in an advertisement that plays before their favorite video. Recently, however, DJ Carrington hasn't exactly given people many reasons to feel positive. On the other hand, Brands tend to recognize these shifts much faster than most fans do.
Beyond concerning at this point how far from the plot we have actually gotten. And when I say the plot, I mean the basketball. How far from the game of basketball we have spiraled. When we're talking about the WNBA, you know, we used to joke, it's like, oh, 0 days without drama in the WNBA. This league is living up to it at a rate and a level of concern that we haven't ever had. With all the
going on in the WNBA, DiJonai Carrington tweeted out white privilege from the locker room of a game that she was playing in. Get this, she fouls Sophie Cunningham hard. Sophie Cunningham, obviously a white person, fouls her hard. Flagrant 2, gets ejected, goes to the locker room and tweets out white privilege in the middle of the game. Now here's the kicker to me. A flagrant 2 has to be contact that can lead to an injury that looks excessive. DiJonai, it was about as excessive as possible. If there was any evidence of there being white privilege, this was not it. What the hell do y'all...
Carrington was called for 3 different fouls in a single week, prompting viewers to replay the footage just to make sure they had seen it correctly the first time. These weren't hustle fouls. They weren't the kind of interactions you brush off as 2 rivals battling for position in a competitive league. These were the types of plays that make commentators pause for a moment before they even know what to say on television, and somehow, all of them involve Sophie Cunningham, which is exactly the kind of coincidence that stops feeling like a coincidence after happening 3 times within such a short span of time.
Right across the face, coming down, trying to prevent the layup, but that is just a hard hit. That's definitely going to be upgraded, I think, to a flagrant 2, Ryan.
I think that is going to be a flagrant 2. There is
Get what you fucking deserve.
And just getting her out of the
Lucky
way.
it wasn't a right hook.
Make no mistake about it. Carrington targeted Cunningham. She targeted her because of her political stances. She targeted Cunningham because of the praises that she keeps receiving. She targeted her with a dirty shot that had absolutely nothing to do with basketball. And then after getting ejected, she runs to the locker room to play the fucking victim card. Like she didn't try to just take off Cunningham's head in 4K. Like we all didn't just watch it happen. That is not competition. That is a grown woman swinging on someone who she disagrees with and then screaming racism when she gets held accountable for it. DiJonai Carrington needs to be held responsible, and I'm not talking about just getting ejected from the game. She deserves a suspension. Maybe she'll think twice next time before she tries to take somebody.
Look, physical basketball is nothing new. Toughness has always been part of what makes this league interesting to watch, and nobody is asking players to go soft out there. However, there's a difference between being tough and being reckless. Many viewers who watched these clips felt that Carrington had crossed that line multiple times within just a few days. Sleeping on it overnight doesn't turn it into a one-time bad moment. That's a pattern. And when a brand's marketing team decides who gets to keep wearing its logo on national television, they pay close attention to patterns like that.
The way Sophie Cunningham came down on her leg, she could have been injured. So they said, yo, get out of here, dog. Get out of here. Then, I don't know if y'all was looking at her lips. She was talking about, try me. Try me. Yo, you already tried Sophie? You got all the samples of Sophie. You talking about try me. What are you talking about? This lady is unhinged right now, man. This is crazy work. And it makes you wonder. It's like, dog, you were the best player for the Sky at this moment. Look how she landed on the leg. Oh, my goodness. Like, you were the best player for the Sky. And you decided to do this? You weren't even thinking about the game. You was thinking about some kind of revenge or something. Somebody sent you on a mission. You were on a mission, dog. I don't know what you had going on here, but DiJonai, this is unacceptable. Disrespectful, disgusting, and I'm glad they got you up out.
Then came the interview that pushed a basketball story beyond the boundaries of the sport. Carrington didn't exactly diffuse the situation the way most players in her position might have after being criticized for the contact. Instead of simply taking responsibility for the play and moving on, she brought up the term white privilege while discussing Cunningham. That shifted the conversation from a discussion about a physical foul to a debate about intent, motive, and everything else that comes attached to a phrase that carries significant weight when spoken aloud in front of reporters. One thing is certain, regardless of whether you felt the remark was justified or whether it had anything to do with what actually happened on the court, it completely changed the tone of the story. And not in a way that helps strengthen her position in the eyes of many observers.
A photo from the flagrant 2 on DiJonai Carrington against Sophie Cunningham, where she proceeded to go into the locker room and tweet white privilege after being thrown out of the game. I'm not going to comment on that situation, but I will say this. This is a flagrant 2. Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, don't matter. This is a flagrant. I mean, she clotheslined her. What more do you want? So, this looks very bad. It just shows that the WNBA is nowhere near where they need to be professionally, because again, this is a clothesline. It's flagrant too.
Furthermore, Cunningham hasn't really retaliated in any noticeable way, at least not with her words. For the most part, she has simply continued to play, show up, and let her performance speak for itself. She has handled a great deal of noise this season in much the same way. Because of that contrast, many people online have been asking why one player is portrayed as the tough one, while the other is praised for keeping her composure, despite being the one who consistently absorbs the contact. Really, it's a simple image. One player takes the hits and stays quiet, one player delivers the hits and then becomes vocal about it. Fans aren't the first to notice which of those images looks better on camera. Brands tend to notice even faster. Furthermore, social media did not stay quiet about any of this. Reebok still has DJ Carrington on an endorsement deal after she cheap shots Sophie Cunningham and screams, "White privilege," was one post that gained significant attention. That isn't an athlete. It's a liability. That's hardly a gentle opinion. Drop her, or America drops you. That's someone taking a strong position and challenging the brand to take one as well. And, judging by the comments underneath, many people agreed with every single word. Quote posts began piling up, with people sharing their own receipts from previous games, older videos resurfacing, and screenshots of past remarks. All of it was rolled into a larger argument against her remaining on the brand's roster at all.
The fact that she said white privilege, that is the story. The story isn't that she got kicked out. It's that she tweeted out white privilege as though because Sophie Cunningham is white, somehow that's why she got kicked out. They go on to defend her, the story, the narrative that she's not a dirty player. She makes plays like this all the time. I put together a little clip of DJ Carrington, who is definitely one of the dirtiest players in the WNBA. I don't know if we can roll it, but she's taken her long fingernails. She's scratched Caitlin Clark's eyes out. She's had multiple instances of chasing people down from behind, trying the same swat and smashing them in the head and causing mini fights. She pulled another girl's hair. I don't know if we'll get to that clip in a second when she's falling. Totally dirty play. This is not a skin color thing. She has a history of making dirty plays, and it's fine. The NBA, you can be a rough and tumble league. Now, where this thing gets absolutely bananas is when you start making it into a race and culture war, and the people talking about it are not mentioning 99% of the time that she went back and tweeted white privilege. White privilege how?
That's the kind of headline companies hate to see associated with their brand because people are publicly saying they will stop purchasing Reebok products entirely as long as Carrington remains on the list of endorsed athletes. It's becoming more than just fans venting for a day and forgetting about it by the weekend. When consumers begin threatening a boycott because of an athlete's actions, the marketing team stops debating internally and starts urgently looking for a solution. After all, it's far more difficult to explain lost sales during a quarterly earnings call than it is to explain a bad foul on a highlight show the following morning.